Great. So I've also enabled the live transcript, and if you would like to use that, you can turn it on in your own Zoom window as well. When I share my screen, you can have it set up however you want. You can have it set up with speaker view or however you want it to be set up, and it doesn't affect how it looks for anybody else. So yeah, now that's going to be at the top of our Zoom recording, but I'm going to reintroduce myself really, really quickly for the sake of the recording, and then I'm going to get started on my presentation. So hi, everybody. My name is Brittany Patty, and I'm the communications coordinator for the School of Fashion. I'm joined here with my colleagues, Carola and Nikki. I actually don't know what side of me they're on, but they are here as well. And we are going to be giving a presentation about the non-academic requirements, which is the portfolio component to your application to fashion. And Carola and Nikki are going to help me out with answering some questions and just, providing a great overview and a pretty thorough overview of how to apply to the School of Fashion. And so I'm going to share my presentation and let's get started. All right, so just want to make sure everybody can see that. And I'm just going to let you all know I'm using two screens. So if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking at my presentation. So welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be able to speak with you today about fashion at the Creative School. It's a really exciting program. I'm an alumni of it myself, and I'm so excited to see so many individuals interested in joining our program. So to start off, when you apply to fashion at the Creative School, you are applying to fashion. It is one program, and you are getting a Bachelor of Design. When you arrive at fashion, if you are a successful applicant, you have the chance to pursue various fields of study that are grouped into concentrations. And so if you have different career aspirations based in all different areas of the fashion industry, you may be able to get experience in those areas while you're taking the program. But I wanted to be clear that when you apply to the school, you're just applying to fashion. You may see on the program offering page on Ryerson's website, there is a fashion communication and a fashion design. Those are no longer active. So if you are applying to fashion, you are correct. As a quick overview of the different career pathways that you can enter from the program, you can go into fashion design, product development, textile design, advertising design. And now hopefully many of you might have been at the virtual open house that was hosted a couple weeks ago, or might have been last week. I can't even remember at this point, but we did get to go over all of the different career pathways and some examples of each. And I do know that they recorded the session. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the program and about student experiences and options and internships and exchange and all that stuff that applies to fashion students when you are a current student, you can reach out to me and I will be able to put you in contact with the central recruitment office who put on that presentation. And with your Bachelor of Design, if you enter the program, you're able to continue on to further education. You can take a master's, you can do graduate school in different, not just a master's of arts, and you can do different international opportunities as well. So the format of the program, it's a full-time program for 4 years. You earn a Bachelor of Design. You complete an internship while you are part of the program. You complete 250 work hours, and then you participate in some university-led workshops. And the admission every year is approximately 200 students per year. And I know that's a question we get a lot, is how many students are admitted to the program? It's approximately 200 per year. So now that I gave you a little bit of an overview of the program, and I know that was kind of brief, but we did have a presentation about the program earlier. So like I said, if you want more information about that, you can reach out. We're going to get into how to apply to fashion. So the first thing you should know about how to apply to fashion is that there are two different components of your fashion application. The first thing is your academic requirements, and that is administered by Ryerson University by their the central admissions department. They take a look at your grades, whether you submit them through OUAC or however you apply to the school if you're applying internationally, etc. But Ryerson Central takes a look at your grades. These are coming from your high school or from your other degree or anything, however you are applying, Ryerson is going to take a look at those. The second part, because fashion is a grades plus program, you're also required to submit non-academic requirements. And this is your portfolio. And this is what we're going to be speaking about today. So that portfolio is submitted to fashion directly. And the fashion department takes a look at your portfolio. And once fashion takes a look at your portfolio, we perform an assessment. And we send that evaluation and that assessment over to Ryerson admissions. They pair the assessment that we put together with your grades, and they submit, or they send you an offer based on the combination of those two items. So it's two parts, and both are equally as important, and both are equally kind of, you have to submit both of them to make sure that you can be a successful applicant. And now the non-academic requirements is what we get the most questions about, because, you know, if you haven't perhaps applied to a creative job before or a creative school before, you might not have ever put a portfolio together. And I know that that can be a little bit confusing and you might not know where to start. So we're going to talk about that today. Your portfolio is comprised of two different parts: a written statement of intent and 4 creative portfolio pieces. And what you're going to see today in this presentation is that there are tons of options for those portfolio pieces. And we really want to see your creativity and technical skills in these pieces. So firstly, the first part of your portfolio is the statement of intent. Now, what is this statement of intent? It is a 500-word written statement that we'd like you to draw upon your personal experiences and tell us about your interest in fashion and why you would like to pursue what is specifically a Bachelor of Design in Fashion at the Creative School. In this written statement of intent, we want you to reflect on an important issue that affects fashion, and we also want you to think of and propose potential solutions. Now, this is an important component. We don't want you to just identify a problem, an issue in fashion, but we want you to be creative and be thinking about potential solutions. Some examples that you might be thinking of are cultural appropriation, diversity and inclusion, fashion activism, sustainability. But we know that there's a wide variety of different issues that you may have encountered in fashion yourself, and you can choose to reflect on any of those as well. In this statement of intent, make sure it is clear what your perspectives are on this issue and how you are proposing your own specific creative solutions. The next part of the portfolio is 4 portfolio pieces. And now this is where you are showcasing your pieces of your best creative work or samples of writing that display your creativity and your technical skills and your interest in fashion. We really want to see how your ideas develop, so we are also encouraging you to submit some process work as well. Now, I'll talk a little bit about more what process work looks like, but it's not a required component of the portfolio. It is just recommended. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about what these 4 portfolio pieces can look like. Now, these are finished, polished pieces of work that really showcase you and your creativity and your technical skills. I'm just going to, before I go to this slide, I'm just going to describe what the next 2 slides are. Now, the next 2 slides are portfolio content options. On our website, our undergraduate admissions page, under the portfolio requirements section, we have a list of different portfolio options that you can include in your portfolio. In that long list, we ask that you pick 4 different pieces to submit to us. And now, when I'm about to go through the list and kind of describe in detail what each of these pieces could be. And hopefully this gets you thinking back into your own life and what you're good at and what you enjoy doing and what perhaps you've already accomplished or created so far, and thinking of putting pieces together from your own personal portfolio for this portfolio here. But I want to remind you that each of these portfolio content options can be jumping off points, and we really do want to see your creativity. So if one of these sparks an idea for you, but it isn't quite exactly how we've described it, that's okay. You do have an option to submit your own choice in the portfolio. So I really want you, over the next 2 slides, to listen to all of the different options and to really think about how you can apply them into your own life and what excites you and what you're interested in the fields of fashion. So the first option is a writing sample. So if you've written a creative essay before or an academic piece of work before, and you really think that this showcases your abilities and perspectives the best, you can include a piece of a writing sample. And now this doesn't necessarily need to be in an essay format. It can be in whatever short form format you are interested in, or a piece of fashion journalism, like an article that you've written for a blog or for print. And an example of your creative writing, it doesn't have to be nonfiction, it can be fiction as well. We just want to see kind of your writing abilities in this example. The second piece would be the area of graphic design. Now, in graphic design, there are a couple of different options you can do. The first thing would be branding design. So this would be creating a logo or an advertisement rather, using your own original imagery and text. And now this is something that's going to come up throughout all of the different descriptions, is your own original imagery and text. What's really important in the portfolio is we want you to be able to clearly identify what your work is. So we want you to include everywhere possible your own original work. The next option under graphic design would be a social media campaign. So this would be a proposal for promoting an idea through a social platform of your choice. In this, you would include graphics and a written description of your social media strategy that illustrates why it would be effective. The next area of the portfolio content options would be fine art. And now the first idea would be traditional art media. And now this would be kind of your traditional art media. So painting, printing, printmaking, sculpture. And when it comes to illustration, you can do different mediums as well, like charcoal, graphite pencil, etc., whatever your media that you prefer would be. The next option would be illustration and drawing. And now in this category, we do ask that it be a fashion figure or a garment design, accessory, or product illustration. And now these are related to the fields of fashion. So if you are interested in being a designer, or you're interested in product design or anything like that, this might be an option for you as well. And the third category under fine art media would be photography. Now, this can be abstract, editorial, or product focused. And now an editorial piece is more what you see in the pages of a fashion magazine, in maybe what the feature article is, or the cover of a fashion magazine. That's usually what editorial pieces are. They're a little bit more artsy. They have maybe a model, maybe it's still life, something like that. And then product focused would be kind of what you see on an e-commerce site, or what you see in advertisement. So it's very product focused, and the goal of the image is to sell a product. Both are huge industries in fashion. So if you feel passionately about either of those, you can submit either of those pieces. Next would be accessory or textile design. An accessory design would be a design of an accessory like a headband or glasses or a watch or shoes. And this can be digitally rendered or photographs of a physical prototype of your design for any kind of accessory. With this, we ask that you include a short description along with images showing overall design and details. So if you do create an actual prototype for an accessory that you've designed yourself, make sure to include images of this prototype so that we can see it from all different angles and we can see really what it looks like, because you are submitting everything digitally. Next would be a textile design. So textile design is like when you look at a garment and it has a pattern on the fabric, that would be kind of your approach to a textile design. This can be an original block print or a digital design. This can also be some kind of traditional media like weaving or embroidery. With this, we ask that you include a short description along with sketches, prints, or photographs showing the overall design and details. And now I know that this is a lot all at once, and I'm going to go on to another slide that has more on it, but just remember that all of these are listed on our undergraduate admissions page. Another category would be clothing and accessories. So this is what most, I think of when they think of applying to fashion school. They think about sewing a garment. And now that's just one of our many content options. If you have previous experience sewing, this might be what you choose. But if you don't have previous experience sewing, you might choose another of our content options before you opt to sew something. But two of the options that we listed under the sewn garment would be a garment from your commercial pattern or your own original design, or a way that you have creatively upcycled or reused an existing garment or accessory, because we do know that that is a huge part of the industry and a big direction that the industry is taking. Next would be fashion business, because we do know that is a passion of many as well. Under this category, you can propose a new business or product idea. With this, we ask that you include a 1 to 2 page description and concept sketches or photos, kind of to give a well-rounded idea of what your fashion business idea would be. And the second part would be a marketing plan for a fashion brand. Now, this can be an existing or an invented fashion brand. With this, we ask that you include a 1 to 2 page description and concept sketches or photos. Just again, to provide a well-rounded idea of what your marketing plan looks like. And the final option is a fashion event. So if you've participated in a fashion event before in the planning capacity, please write us a description that outlines the contribution to a fashion event that you were involved in. You can include a 1 to 2 page description and photos and any other related materials. So perhaps you designed the advertisement for a fashion event, and that is showcasing your design abilities. You can include that and write a description of what that experience was like. And like I mentioned at the very beginning of this, these are options. And we do know that, we've created this list of options based on what we've received from students in the past and what our students complete while they are completing their degree. But we do know that there are so many different ideas out there, and we do welcome and invite creative ideas of your own choice as well. If you have become inspired by any of the content options listed here, you're welcome to use them as jumping off points and to submit something that showcases your creativity and technical skills the best. Next, I'm going to go over some best practices for preparing and putting together the actual file of your portfolio, because I do know that this is a big question we get. And I think that if you've not had to put something like this together before, you might not know where to start. And so I'm going to help you out hopefully with that today. The first thing to think about when preparing a portfolio is the different components that go into it. So not just the actual literal components that go into it, but the kind of ideas around it and where you want to start. So firstly, you want to make sure you're showcasing your creativity and your technical skills. You want to pay attention to detail in all different areas of your portfolio. And this comes down to typography choices, if you're laying out a page, how large you make the images on a page, if you are making something in a PDF, what size your PDF file is, if you're submitting things as separate files, if you're submitting everything as one file. You really want to make conscious decisions and pay attention to the details. What colors are you using? Do they match, etc. Next would be showcasing a breadth of your skills. So like I mentioned earlier, of those content options that I listed, you are to submit 4 different portfolio pieces. You do have the ability to submit 2 of the same content option, but if you do choose to do that, we ask that you try to submit 2 options that showcase different technical skills. For example, if you're interested in submitting 2 different sewn garments, perhaps one showcases tailoring very well. So if you are skilled at tailoring, you might show us something that is very structured and very kind of put together. And you might choose to show us in your other garment a design detail like a zipper install that showcases that you're able to do 2 different things. For example, too, if you choose a piece of fine art media, maybe one of the examples is a oil painting and another example is a pastel drawing. So they're both visual art pieces, but you're showcasing and you're showing us that you can do 2 different mediums, and you're showcasing more of a breadth of your skills. Perhaps the subject matter changes between different images, all of that. So I'm really trying to show us the range of what it is that you're able to do. And the last part would be your personality and your perspectives. To elaborate on that a little bit further, when it comes to your technical skills, think about what you already are good at. So are you already good at sewing? Are you very good at photography? Are you passionate about taking photos? Have you worked on fashion events before? What are you already good at, and what technical skills do you already possess? If you are technically skilled in sculpture making or in construction, what can you use in your technical skills to support your creativity? Because ultimately we do want to see your creativity, and if your technical skills can support that, that is a great place to start. The next part, and it comes down to your creativity. And really with this, we want to see divergent ideas and your creative process. We really want to get into your mind and see how you're thinking differently about creativity, because that is a huge part of our program. With that, we want to see the expression of the creativity through all of your portfolio pieces. And attention to detail throughout your portfolio, like I mentioned earlier, is a really great way to make sure you're making conscious creative decisions and creative choices with all different areas and all different parts of your portfolio. And finally, we want to see new perspectives in your portfolio. We want to see your opinions, and we want to see your perspectives. So what does fashion mean to you? Think about this when you think about your portfolio piece selection, or you think about starting a new piece for your portfolio. What does fashion mean to you, and how can you bring it into this portfolio piece? What can you in turn bring to fashion at the creative school? Because ultimately you are applying to be a part of a larger group. What are you bringing to the table and what are you able to show us and what are you excited to continue working on while you're here? And finally, you get to elaborate on it in your statement of intent. But really, if you do keep this in mind for all of your portfolio pieces, it will create a strong portfolio. How do you want to change the industry? What are you seeing in the industry that you like and what are you seeing that you don't like? And how can you reflect that change? Next, I want to talk a little bit about process work. Like I mentioned earlier, process work is a really great way to get an insight into your creative process. The creative process provides a lot of context for our reviewers. Remember, this is the first time that we've ever seen your name or we've ever encountered your work. And so you want to be able to give us as much context as you can for the creative choices that you made. So the creative process is kind of where you've decided to start and finish your work. You're not going to sit down and paint something and that is exactly what you hand in. You are going to sketch it, perhaps. You might take a reference photo. We want to see where you got your inspiration from. And you can demonstrate this in a couple different ways. The first would be sketching of different concepts. So if you're doing an accessory design, perhaps you've drawn it three or four different ways before you settled on the final design. Include those for us so that we can see where you started and where you ended up. Next would be material exploration. If you're going to sew a piece of clothing and perhaps you thought you wanted to do it in velvet, but then you decided you wanted to do it in silk. Why did you decide to choose? And perhaps you want to show us the original idea before you ended up at your final product. If you're going to be continuing to do something that, takes a while, we want to see photos of your work in progress. Perhaps you've taken images of your garment at all different stages, or if you worked behind the scenes of a fashion show, you can take photos of you behind the scenes. If you do take inspiration from different areas that already exist, like if you find inspiration on the internet, in a fashion magazine, kind of in your everyday life, please make sure you credit these images adequately and make sure you're not passing anybody's work off as your own. But you're welcome to submit kind of inspiration so that we can see where your ideas came from. And finally, if you did submit a piece of academic writing, or if you're somebody who, when part of your creative process is writing down your ideas in Word form, you can include notes and related research as well. Like I mentioned earlier, process work is not required, but it does provide a really great context piece for all of your final portfolio pieces. And it really lets our reviewers get a good sense of what your creativity is like and how you can continue moving forward. So yeah, that's process work. Next, I'm going to go into the submission instructions. So this is like actually how you step-by-step submit your portfolio, which I do know can be a little bit confusing. And like I mentioned earlier, all of this is available on our undergraduate admissions page for reference. So don't panic about writing it all down at once. It is available for reference later on. So the first thing is to keep in mind is when you're going to submit your portfolio. So the first thing you do is submit your academic requirements. So you're going to submit your grades to Ryerson before you submit your portfolio. And the reason for this is because you need to wait until you get your Ryerson student number before you submit your portfolio, because you need to include that in your portfolio. The first thing you do is you wait and you submit your grades and you wait until you get access to your Choose Ryerson portal where you will see your Ryerson student number. You're going to include your Ryerson student number on all of the materials you submit. Then you're going to submit your actual portfolio to an application called SlideRoom. It's super easy to use. You're going to create a separate account. It's completely administered outside of Ryerson, but we have an account. So you're going to create a new account on SlideRoom to submit your portfolio. You're going to make sure you include your Ryerson student number in when you submit your portfolio. And your statement of intent is going to be submitted alongside your portfolio. Finally, your non-academic requirements, and this is a question we get all the time, when are they due? Your non-academic requirements are due by February 1st, 2022, or 10 days from your application submission date, whichever comes later. So February 1st is the guaranteed consideration deadline for admissions for fall 2022. What this means is if you submit your academic and your non-academic requirements before or on February 1st, 2022, we will definitely have time and we will definitely be able to look at them for consideration for fall 2022. All applications that are submitted after this date are subject to review based on volume of applications. And if you do submit your academic requirements after February 1st, 2022, you have 10 days, 10 business days to then submit us your portfolio. So next is getting into how to prepare your files. So like I mentioned, this is submitted digitally on SlideRoom. And with that, there's a lot of different ways you can submit things digitally. And so hopefully this clears something up. SlideRoom accepts several different file types. You're able to submit images up to 10 megabytes each, video files up to 500 megabytes each, audio files up to 60 megabytes each, and PDFs up to 20 megabytes each. You may also link to media from YouTube, Vimeo, and SoundCloud, and it will all be inside this portal. If you do submit image files, make sure you're submitting them I'm going to restart that sentence because I was reading it. If you're submitting an image, make sure that it is less than 1280 by 1280 at 72 ppi. This means that's pixels per inch because SlideRoom will resize your images. When you're creating your portfolio, you definitely want to make sure you're sending it to us as how you want us to look at it. So if you submit a larger file, it is going to be compressed and our reviewers are probably going to see a lesser quality version of it. So you want to make sure you control how we perceive and how we view your portfolio. A great image file size that is recommended by SlideRoom and recommended just for general guidelines for web browser-based viewing is 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels if it's a square, and anything kind of based on that orientation or those dimensions within the size of your photo. So what we recommend is that you take your portfolio pieces and you package them into a PDF. If you're doing any kind of multi-page document, we recommend that you compile it together and show us it in a multi-page document. So if you have submitted a photo series for your portfolio, we want you to put them all together so that we can see what order you wanted us to look at them in. Process work is also recommended as multi-page PDF. So if you have sketches and notes for one piece of your portfolio, put them together in a PDF, label them accordingly so that we know all of these process work pieces are supposed to be together. Really, like I said, the reviewers, this is their first time that they're ever seeing your work, and you really want to make sure that you control the way that they're seeing your work. And PDFs are a really great way to do that because in a multi-page document, you get to decide what we look at first, then what we look at second, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of kind of file quality advice, PNGs are really great for preserving the quality of your work. So if you're able to submit something as a PNG file, it'll definitely be a higher quality than a JPEG file. And finally, do not submit working files. The portal actually won't let you. It'll give you an error message. So if it does give you an error message, that might be why. And these can be Illustrator files, Photoshop files, InDesign documents, or docx files, which is like Microsoft Word documents. SlideRoom doesn't accept those because they're editable. So we want to see finished portfolio pieces. Next, I'm going to talk about the labeling conventions. So you're going to want to make sure you label all your portfolio pieces really, really clearly so that we know what we're looking at. So I've written it out here. It is also written out on our website. My recommendation is you go over to our website where we have live text. You know, when you take your cursor and you can highlight text on a website, you're going to highlight the text on our website that says exactly this, and you're going to copy that and you're going to put it in your notes app, or you're going to put it in a document, or you're going to save it somewhere on your computer so that you can have reference to that and you can just copy and paste that into your file name when you are ready to go. You're going to name it and you're going to customize it according to you. So you're going to name it Portfolio Piece 1, and then you're going to put your student number. For each subsequent piece, you're going to label them 2, 3, 4. Remember, you're submitting 4 finished pieces. So you're going to label them Portfolio Piece 1, student number, Portfolio Piece 2, student number, portfolio piece 3, student number, and portfolio piece 4, student number. So like I said, it's really easy if you have that editable file on like the editable text on your computer. You can copy and paste it when you save your file. You can change the number, you can put your student number, and then you're good to go. Everything saves nicely. So if you do have like multiple images related to one portfolio piece, you're just going to put an A or a B or a C after the number so that we know what order that goes in. Like I mentioned, it's easier if you do everything in one PDF file, but if you do want to submit things separately, just make sure you follow that naming convention. And finally, you're also going to label your process work with a naming convention so that we know what process work is associated with which portfolio piece. So in my hypothetical example where you submitted a photograph as your portfolio piece 1, process work 1 is going to be any kind of process work that is related to your photograph. So in this scenario as well, if you have taken other other stills from that shoot that you want to show as like reference, or you've sketched it beforehand, or you've done location scouting, all that stuff, put that all together in one PDF. You can write a couple of notes to let us know what we're looking at, and then label it with process work 1. We know that it goes with the image that you've submitted, and you put your student number so we know that it's yours. Now, I know that that's a lot, so don't fret. It is available on our website for reference at all times. And we got like everyone followed it last year. And so we're, I'm pretty sure you can all figure it out. And if you have any questions, again, you can always email us, but it's a lot all at once. And when you go back to read it on the undergraduate admissions page, I promise it sounds a lot less scary. So the next thing I'm going to take you through are some resources to help you put together your portfolio. And I've mentioned a couple times that you should put, or you can, and we recommend putting your portfolio pieces as multi-page PDFs. And there's a couple of different softwares that we suggest using for that. The first one is Google Slides. Now, Google Slides is free if you have a Gmail account. And so it's a really great resource for creating multi-page documents where you can move images around freely. I know I've used Microsoft Word before to put in, as soon as you put an image in Microsoft Word, it just jumps around the page and it is a little bit less easy to use. So if you use Google Slides, it allows you to move your images around freely. And you're also able to customize the page dimension and page sizes in setting if you want them to be a specific ratio. And in Google Slides, you can download something as a PDF to submit it. And it's all free, which is really great. PowerPoint also has the same, it says PowerPoint. Of course, I've made a spelling error, but PowerPoint is also the same. You can download things as multi-page PDFs. If you have a Mac operating system, Pages, which is the default program that comes with your computer, also allows you to save files as PDFs. And if you need to adjust your document size, like I mentioned before, there are recommended document sizes. You can do so in Preview, which is the default program that opens when you double click a PDF or a JPEG or a PNG on your Mac. In Windows, you can adjust your document size in Photos or Paint, which are the two default apps that you open when you double click on an image like a PNG or a JPEG. A couple other resources that vary from free to paid would be some of the Adobe Suite programs. Adobe Spark is an online version of some of kind of their Illustrator, InDesign type of program, where you can do kind of simpler graphic design work. So I recommend checking out Adobe Spark if you want to do something like that. This is also good for putting actually together your portfolio. If you want to make a title page or anything like that, you can do it in Adobe Spark. If you have the ability or you have the resources to access any of the other Adobe Suite, maybe your high school offers it, maybe you're currently at a different program that offers the Adobe Creative Suite, we recommend using InDesign, Illustrator, or Photoshop to put together your portfolio. And if you do want to edit any photos, we recommend using Adobe Lightroom. You can also get Adobe Lightroom as a free iPhone app. And with how good iPhone cameras are today, you can take some photos using your iPhone, edit them on Lightroom, and they can be part of your portfolio as well. Finally, if you are a tablet-based worker, you could use Procreate. Procreate's really great because it's a one-time purchase. So you purchase it for, I think it's like $35, and then you have it forever. And if this is familiar to you, you can create vector-based illustrations on Procreate, which means no matter how big you enlarge them, they maintain their quality, which is a really great feature that the app has. And finally, you can use Adobe Draw, which is Adobe's kind of free iPhone or tablet version of their Adobe programs. It's like their Illustrator. It's where you can like draw stuff. So if you want to do a digital illustration, you could use Adobe Draw and you have a tablet. There are also other tablets, and if you have a preferred tablet and you're experienced with something that I didn't mention, you are more than welcome to use any program to put together your portfolio. I would be cautious of using programs that have built-in templates, unless this is just to put together a title page or something, because you want to make sure you don't pass off anybody's work as your own if you're doing graphic design, for example, as part of your portfolio. So be careful with that. Be careful with any kind of programs that have built-in filters. We really want to make sure you are using your own creative work. So that wraps up the logistic part of our presentation. I see that there's a bunch of questions in the chat. So, or I only see the little icon number of how many messages have been sent. So I actually don't know if Nikki and Carol have been answering them for me. But I do have a couple of pre-prepared questions that are common, and then we can get into some questions that were asked. So the first question that we get a lot is, what will make my portfolio stand out? And the answer that I love to give, and that I hope always kind of inspires you to make your portfolio decisions, is we want to see you in your portfolio. We want to see your perspectives on fashion, and we want to see your perspectives on fashion solutions and fashion in the fashion system. We don't necessarily want to hear what your parents think about fashion, or what your guidance counselor thinks about fashion, or what your teachers think about fashion. We want to hear what you think, and we want to hear what you have to say. So if at all points in your portfolio, you make sure that your best work and yourself are shining through, that's really going to make you stand out, because we want half those fun individuals in our program who are really excited to harness their own voices and create a really great dynamic environment in the program. It's really fun to get to collaborate with all of your different peers. And so we want to be able to create that environment for all of you. So we want to hear what you are like. The next that we get asked all of the time is, are you required to have any sewing experience prior to applying to the program? And the answer is no. Fundamentals will be taught in first year, and you aren't required to sew anything for your portfolio. The next is, how many pieces of process work should I include with a finished portfolio piece? And I get asked that a lot, and there really isn't any quantifiable answer. We personally recommend you include at least some process work. One perhaps process piece per portfolio would be a great place to start, but it really depends on, just pulled my computer cord. It really depends on what your creative process is like and how you best want to showcase that. But again, any amount of process work really provides the context for our reviewers to see where your ideas came from. And that's really exciting to them, because they're all designers themselves, and they're all different creatives, and they love the creative process, and that's what they teach. So any amount is great. I think this is the last one. Oh, two more. The next question is, how important is it for me to have a fashion design degree compared to a fashion diploma? And the big difference is that a degree will allow you to complete further education if you want to do a master's in the future, or on past a master's in the future. Having an undergraduate degree, it's a Bachelor of Design, will allow you to kind of pursue anything that a bachelor degree would allow you to pursue. Next is a question I already kind of answered when I mentioned kind of how many students we admit every year. So we admit around 200 students per year, and every year we have between like 600 to 900 students apply. It definitely varies year over year, but that's kind of the work. I guess if it's 600 to 900, I guess you could land in the middle at like around 800, but we have around that many students apply every year. So it is a fairly competitive program. We do have a lot of applicants, but we do admit around 200 per year. Okay, and that is the last pre-prepared question I have. We do have some time to take audience questions, and I will keep this up on the screen for you to refer to. If you want to stay connected with us, you can visit our website, our Instagram. You can email us for general inquiries at fashion@ryerson.ca. And if you have any follow-up questions about the non-academic requirements, you can visit or email us at fashion.admission@ryerson.ca. Okay. Do we have any questions?
So you already answered one of the most common questions, which you mentioned was the number of pages. So maybe some tips and tricks about self-editing, if you have any.
Yeah.
So like if you have multiple pages, I would say maybe do a collage rather than sending in 100 pages of process work, right?
Yeah, that's a really great point, Nikki. And I do think that kind of goes back to what I was saying about being really intentional with your choices in your portfolio. It's a skill in itself to be able to self-edit, and it's a skill in itself to be able to kind of make a decision about what to include. So we know and we recognize the decision as a conscious one if you choose to submit 2 pieces, like your example that you were saying, Nikki, is if they have like a lot of photographs, I think, or something like that, or process work or anything. In this hypothetical situation, it's a skill to make the selections. So definitely do that consciously. And we recognize that that's a really good skill to have, is to be able to edit yourself. And so definitely don't submit really, really long pieces, because we won't have time to look at everything as thoroughly as if you submit us 2 really, really strong things within one portfolio piece is what I'm talking about. Still remember you're submitting 4 things.
And the same thing would apply for photographs. So talking about if you're submitting photos of a garment, for example, there's no limit to how you can present it, but if you have fine details, you could do close-up photos as well as zoomed out photos of the entire garment. So you want to showcase both.
And we definitely don't need to see like 10 of the same detail, but we would rather see a variety of like angles of your garment so that we can get a holistic view of it, kind of thing.
Somebody did ask also about admission decision release dates. So I'm just going to add the link to the page for everyone. I answered privately to the person that asked, but I'm just going to add it to the chat so everybody has that link as well. Decisions are made and issued by the admissions department, and they have a timeline for when they make those decisions for our program. So you can refer to their page for that. We only evaluate the portfolio, as Brittany mentioned, and we send the results to admissions to make and issue the decision. One thing I just want to correct, and I think it was just a slip of the tongue while you were in the presentation, so the first step is to apply, so submit your application, and then you wait to receive your student number. Brittany had mentioned that you actually have to submit your grades, but you don't have to submit your grades
manually. No.
When you apply. It was just an error.
Yeah,
so you just submit your application. Once you get your student number, then you can submit the portfolio. The grades are handled separately. The transcripts are handled separately by the admissions department. So I just
we don't have anything to do with your grades.
So one question, if I put multiple photos in a PDF, how would I label it?
Oh, that's a good question. That would when you make a PDF with multiple pages, make sure it's all representing the same portfolio piece, and you would just label it with whatever number it is. So if it's portfolio piece number 1, just label it portfolio piece number 1.
I did add the link to the non-academic requirements page to the chat. So follow that link to read the submission instructions page and for like those step-by-step instructions. Where there isn't a specific instruction, that means that's it's to your discretion. So if we're not telling you specifically how many pages or how many, it's really up to you to decide. There's been questions also about the other category. So, that's really open-ended. It could be, as Brittany mentioned, it could be something creative or it could be something written. It really, we're flexible on that. With the 4 pieces, what I would say is to err on the side of not submitting 4 items from the same category. So you do want to try and show some diversity in your skills in terms of what you're showcasing us. So even if your interest is only for fashion design, I would err on the side of not only submitting 4 items for the garment category.
That's a great point, Nikki. And I think it's a really important thing to reiterate how we've given specific instructions for specific places, but there is a lot of flexibility in your decision making for this portfolio, and your ability to make those decisions is important and is kind of something we're evaluating in itself. So your ability to kind of decide what portfolio pieces you're including and how you interpret the creativity elements of everything. We're looking at that too. And we really want you to feel that you are able to show us your best work based on the recommendations we've given.
There's also a question about, and it comes up a lot as well, as whether you can submit more than 4 pieces. And the answer is no. Do not submit more than 4. We won't evaluate more than 4. We need to evaluate all applicants on an even playing field. And so I'm not even sure if there's an option on SlideRoom to submit more than 4, but if there is, you're leaving it to the person that's evaluating you to decide what 4 they're going to pick, because they won't go past 4. So they might evaluate the first 4 or whatever they open.
That's a great point, Nikki. Actually, I will clarify. It's on our website, but I'll say this too. On SlideRoom, you can submit between 4 to 15 files. So if you choose to submit your portfolio pieces as 4 separate files, you're able to do that. But if you choose to submit one portfolio piece as 2 files, you're also able to do that. But when it comes to how many portfolio pieces, like the numbers that I mentioned earlier, we want those numbers to go up to 4.
There is a question about categories that overlap, and that's totally fine. If there's like a project within your, categories that overlap, it's okay, but you need to distinguish between the categories. So if you have a garment, but it says if it goes into an editorial shoot, you still have to separate those categories and present them separately.
We would definitely, that's a good point too. We want to make sure we know what we're evaluating you on. So if you've sewn a garment and you submit your sewn garment as a set of images, so we know that you sewed this garment, but then you also used it in an editorial piece, and you want us to evaluate your photography or your art direction skills in that portfolio piece, make sure you're letting us know that you want us to evaluate your sewn garment here, and you want us to evaluate your art direction, your photography skills in a separate place. Because otherwise we don't know, because this is the first time we're seeing your work.
Yes, so there's a question if the statement of intent is part of the portfolio pieces. Yes. So that's your written statement is submitted in SlideRoom with your portfolio pieces.
I saw a couple of questions about size limit. As long as your files fall under the size limit that I mentioned earlier, they're also listed on our undergraduate admissions page, and they're also listed in SlideRoom. SlideRoom won't let you hand something in that is too big. It'll just tell you there's an error. So err on the side of your file size being smaller than the description that we've provided, or else you will receive an error message if it's over. So don't worry about like something going wrong on our side with a file size that's too big. You won't be able to get to that stage. You'll have to submit it with the correct file size.
So there's a follow-up question about where we were explaining to provide to specify what it is that you're submitting. So with each category, with the exception of the fine arts category, so the illustrations, you're asked for a description of your work. So you need to be clear about what it is that you're doing, what you did, what your role was in this. So if you are submitting work for the intent of being evaluated for like a photo shoot or for your art direction, as Brittany mentioned, you want to make that part of your description.
There's another question about how to submit the statement of intent. When you log on to the Sideroom profile, the first step is going to be to submit your statement of intent, and you're submitting that as text. There is like a text field that you're going to put your statement of intent into. I recommend writing it separately and then copying it into Sideroom so that you're not writing anything in there. But yeah, you will be able to submit your portfolio and your statement of intent all together.
Okay, I think that's it for the questions in the chat.
That's great. Right under the wire too. Is there anything anybody would like us to repeat? Because I do know that this is so much information all at once. Like I mentioned, this video will be available for playback, and also all of this information is on our undergraduate admission page, and you can also email us. But while you have us, if you would like me to repeat any of the things that we said earlier, we can do that now. That's a great, the question that just appeared is, if I include a collage as process work, as long as I acknowledge that the photos are not mine, is that okay? Please, if you are at any point submitting work that you're using as reference, that is not your own original work, please clearly indicate where that image is from and that it is not your own. Definitely try to stick to your own work as much as possible, but I know that you're going to find references on the internet or even in your own life that perhaps you want to include, and just make sure you're labeling them properly. That's sufficient.
Where possible, you should also, when you're not using your own work, and this is also part of, being a student, you should be citing. So like, this is something that you would need to do as a student in university, is if you ever use, and even as a reference, other people's work, you need to cite where you got it from. So it would be to your benefit to show that extra step of citing the work of where it came. So including a bibliography in addition to your process work, if that's the case.
For that, there's no specific conventions because we know that you learn a bunch of different ones in high school. But yes, that's a great piece of advice, Nikki. Make sure you're showing us that you know how to cite things. I think that answered your question, Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, thank you everybody for coming out to this presentation today. I'm so happy to see that you're interested in fashion at the Creative School. We're so excited to see your portfolios and to have you apply to our school. Like I said, please stay in touch if you have any questions. Follow us on Instagram to see what our current students are up to. And with that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Best of luck with your portfolios, and see you, everybody. Thank you to Nikki and Carola.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
See you, everyone.
Have a good night.